Good morning, everyone. This is Katie with NLFX Professional. I have Vickie. I forgot already.
You said it first time. Practice. Musni.
Thank you. And we are going to be chatting about everything today.
Right.
DJ trivia, all things DJ, just a little bit of everything. So, Vickie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today.
It's a little early where you're at, isn't it?
It's early because of the way I shift my life. 9 o'clock really shouldn't constitute as early, but since I don't have an office with other people and none of my kids are in school, it feels early because everyone else in my house is still in bed. But
right.
It's not terrible.
And me, I've been up since sunrise, like 6:30 in the morning. So I'm like all chipper.
I'm a sunset girl, and then I start my day. Goal is to normally be in bed before 2. I tried early last night. I tried to make it to bed before midnight because I knew I had to be functioning for you this morning. But
see, and I'm like 10 o'clock, and I'm out at 10. I'm like, I'm so tired. I want to go to bed.
I'm just getting home from now. We're starting to do events again, so I'm just starting to get back by then. And then if I want to have any downtime or watch a movie with my husband, or we have some shows we watch with our teenagers, we're not starting those until 10 o'clock.
Right. So, Vickie, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
It's funny. I get that question a lot, even from people that know me within the industry, because I'm one of the few in the industry who's not technically a DJ. And I started in weddings and events back in 1996, and it was kind of twofold. Two things happened at the same time. At our wedding reception, people were coming up to us complimenting the video my husband had made, saying, "Oh my gosh, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Where can we get your business cards?" And it was just a little video slideshow out of photos. But in 1996, those were not super common. You couldn't make them on your phone. People didn't have digital photos yet, and you had to learn how to, you had to have certain stuff to make that happen. So that happened. And then also at the same time, the venue where we got married approached me and hired me to be their lead wedding coordinator. So for the next, 4 years or so, we were doing both things at the same time. He was doing video and I was doing wedding and event planning and coordinating. And then we moved to Reno in 2001, and I was kind of like, yeah, that was fun when we were doing that in the Bay Area. But when we lost all of our contacts, and I guess we're done, right, honey? And no, we decided to rebuild it. So we ran a video company for about 15 years. Okay. And then into that process, I also became a certified personality trainer and started doing a lot of public speaking. And I started at moms groups and parenting classes and things like that. And then one day had this aha moment that personalities is not just about family dynamics. It can be applied to business. So then I started speaking. I did a little thing for my ADJA chapter, and then some friends said, well, hey, come to my ADJA chapter. And then someone there said, well, hey, I'm part of this regional conference. Would you come speak at that? And it just sort of snowballed. And I think particularly in the DJ industry, people started to grasp onto the message, because my very first talk about personalities was called The 4 Dialects of Speaking Bride. Speaking her language. And I think especially because this industry seems to be about 90% men whose clients are about 90% women, there was something in them that was like, oh, wow, she's going to help us really understand and get in the brain of our clients. And then through that whole process, things just kind of grew. And then 7 or 8 years ago, we signed up with DJ Trivia and have been doing that. Like 7.5 years ago, we signed. We've been doing it for a little over 7 now. And so now I've got, really my feet anchored in the event industry and something that is definitely more DJ related. But it's been an interesting evolution for me in the event world. But I'd say I've been part of this community for about the last 10 years, but known first as a personality trainer and then later as a DJ Trivia affiliate.
So I'm interested in the personality training. Is that kind of like adapting your personality to the people that are around you? Would you say that's kind of like on point or different?
More understanding, okay. And then adapting your communication. So everybody has a personality that we're born with, and you can't really change your personality type. What you can change is where you are on the spectrum of strengths and weaknesses. And so what I teach people is understand both sides, the strengths and the weaknesses, and then learn how to minimize or compensate or overcome the challenges and really live in the area of strengths. But you can't change who you are. But once you understand who you are and how your personality interacts with the other people you interact with, you can adapt your communication so that you can really speak to the needs of the other person more quickly, more efficiently, and at a deeper level than you would if you just went through life acting as if everybody thought like you did. Because when we don't think about it, that's kind of our basic assumption, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, our worldview is ours. This is the personality that I've known my whole life. It seems very normal to me. And when someone doesn't think like I do, or doesn't value the same things I do, or maybe they want more time for something, then I'm like, really like, let's do this right now. I have to stop and just go, oh yeah, they're not all like me. And I know it sounds silly because we know that people are different from us, right? Mm-hmm. But until we consciously say that to ourselves, not everybody's like me. What does this person need? You know, what do they really need deep inside at their core? What do they value? That's when I can connect. And so, yeah, it's this really cool, like part art, part science that you can start to apply at so many levels of business. Yourself, obviously, you know, if you have employees and a team, it affects that. In sales, when you're talking to your clients, when you're at an event and you've got other event professionals around you, you know, you've got all of these different dynamics at play. And then if you do weddings, then they're magnified because with a heightened emotion, all of the traits come even bigger than life on a big emotional day. So yeah, it's important, I think, at all different levels of business.
So you actually answered my question before I asked it. I was going to say, how can you adapt that to business? So it just seems like there's many different layers to peel back so you can overcome those challenges. So if someone wants to learn more about this, Vickie, where would they go?
You can start by going to my website, VickieMusni.com. And I've got a lot of free resources on there. There's some paid ones too, just to warn you, I'm not trying to do a bait and switch. I have a really long, in-depth, 7-video full course that's on there. If you have time and want to do that, it's great. But otherwise, start with the little mini free quiz, read some of the free articles, and there's links to videos and things like that. There's actually a couple of the first couple videos of the course are free if you want to try it out and just see if you even like my teaching style and what the videos are like. You can get the first ones for free. But yeah, start with some of the free blog posts and free articles. And there's a section on there called The Basics. And it just does a really short overview of the system I use and the 4 colors that I teach and what each one represents. But what I caution people is don't get too hung up on needing to take a test. Because in real life, like if I was working with you, Katie, and I wanted to say, or if like I was trying to sell you something, I wouldn't come up to you and be like, hey, could you take this 40-question personality test so I can understand you better? Like that doesn't work. I would have to just look at you and listen to you and look at what I can glean from, the way you speak, the way you smile, the way you talk, the words you choose, and make my best guess on what personality type I think you are. And then I would talk to you in that same way. I'd say, oh, okay, Katie's probably a green, so I better not come on, too loud or I might overwhelm her, or, whatever it is, I can make adjustments. And so don't get hung up on what the test is and how you get the test and the long version of the test. It's there, but
see, I love tests. Like I want to dig in and figure out what is my personality type? Tell me everything about me. I question test to figure that out.
Well, and that's great for yourself. I don't mean to sound anti-test, but yes, take it for yourself and understand yourself, because honestly, you can only change yourself, but we can't expect everyone around us. Now, if you're talking about your team, it's totally something you could do with the staff. And people hire me to come out and train their whole team, and that can be super fun and really, really valuable. But you can't make your clients take it. And that's the thing I really want people to not get hung up on is, yes, you can apply this to sales and you can develop slightly different closing techniques based on different personality types, different presentation styles when you're in a meeting. But you have to do your research and then at some point make your best guess, because you can't ask those people that are potential clients to join you in taking the test. They're not going to walk in with a sign that says, I'm a blue, I need lots of details, or I'm a yellow, but once you start looking for the clues, you'll realize it. You'll see the way a yellow walks into the room in mid-story, mid-laugh, waving their hands all over, and you can go, oh, that person's a yellow. I bet she really likes to tell stories. I'm going to ask her a few more engaging questions, versus someone that comes in, super all business, okay, skip the small talk if that's how someone enters the room. But if your brain can go, oh, they're a red, I bet you I need to do this, then more power to you. You can kind of.
Do you find that helps maybe a DJ or an MC read the room better? Like just when they go to an event, wedding, or corporate, does it help them read the room and feed off that energy?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that help. Reading the room, I think, is a little bit different, although some families or groups will kind of have a vibe. But usually it's going to be the louder, the more extroverted people that you spot. Anyways, the reds and yellows. So you have to realize that chances are good in a crowd, you're going to have some of all 4 personality types. I think when you're at a live event, it's going to help you most when you have those one-on-one interactions. Maybe it's the person coming up to the booth and trying to request a song. And maybe it's just the way you're interacting with the couple or the mom of the bride. Her personality can really have a big impact on some of the things throughout the day on a wedding. So if you know the personality types of those key family members and key players going into it, and then I mentioned the other vendors. If you've got, for example, my brother's wedding, their photographer was what I call an extreme blue, super detail oriented, needed absolute perfection. And I knew that family picture time, during the quote cocktail hour was going to go really, really long. And, it's a long story why we weren't DJing and emceeing. And it was unfortunate that things didn't get handled better. But I was looking at that going, I could have spotted that problem a mile away. And as a DJ MC would have come up with a plan, because I would have realized, oh, I've worked with that photographer before. I know that they're a blue. I know that this is going to happen. And I could have maybe had some conversations in advance about, how much more time they needed, or at least have my backup plan, because I know that they're not coming in when they told me on the schedule they were coming in.
Right.
That makes sense. So sometimes you can figure it out ahead of time if they're people that you worked with before, or if you ask certain questions during your planning meetings about extended family, you can get a little more insight. So tell me about your mom. What's she like? How involved is she in this process? Something like that might end up giving you all kinds of helpful personality information.
So I have, I've done quite a few of these. And one of the things that has kind of been reoccurring is that with that consultation with your bride, to make it about them. Ask as many questions as you can about their day, and just really hone in on making it only about them on that consultation. Does that only work with certain personality types?
It works best with certain personality types, and it also depends on where you are in the process. That blue personality type that I just described in my photographer example, the ones that are really detail oriented, they're also the most closed when it comes to sharing personal information. So sometimes if you are just in that very first meeting, not a planning meeting, but that first sales conversation, and you start firing off questions, they feel attacked and uncomfortable and can start to shut down. Whoa, I don't even know you yet. You don't have access to this much of my life. And in that case, you're better off telling a little bit more of your background, and maybe even warn them. Say, well, I totally would love to hear your story about how you two got engaged. Would it be okay if I shared a little bit about me first and how I got into this business? And even though that's backwards of what most people will tell you, for that personality type, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I need to know more about you. Yes, please, you start. And then they'll start to warm up a little bit. And then by the time you get there, you'll prep them, and they'll be a little more receptive to it. And then when they feel like they have a little bit more about you, they're a little more likely to share in turn, about themselves. but beware of that rapid fire right off the bat. It's not necessarily the best thing for every personality type. And even if you're not going to go super deep dive into the same 4 personality types that I teach, at the most basic level, use mirroring and look at, not mirroring like the person crosses their arms so you cross yours, not like in a creepy, weird way, but like kind of try to match their pacing and their tone. If they're more laid back and they speak pretty quietly, then you should try to match that. And I think especially in our industry, there's a lot of us on the other side, that extroverted, loud, kind of in your face, the party people that are naturally gravitating toward this business. And not all of the clients are like that.
Right.
And so you have to be able to kind of flip back and forth. And then for those that are dealing with weddings, you have this reality. Statistically, most first marriages marry opposite personalities. So you've got to kind of learn to go back and forth when you're talking with a couple, because often they're going to be different personalities sitting right in front of you in the room. And so I think it was Randy Bartlett that told me a story the very first time that I spoke at Mobile Beat. He had this aha moment and he goes, I get it now. He said, I had this client meeting and the whole family loved me. And we were talking sports and, you know, everybody was telling stories and we were all getting along. The groom, her parents, those brothers, they all loved me and they didn't book me. And he goes, and I realized it's because the bride was the opposite of everybody else there. And I didn't connect with the bride. And I think this was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And it was that example, though, still to me is really powerful, that you can connect with a lot of different people, but the bride is going to have probably in most cases have the veto power. So even if she's the only one with a different personality, you better adjust your communication to speak her language. And yes, it's good that you can connect with the parents and the brothers and the groom and everybody else who might have been in that. I don't know. I don't remember why there was such a big group having this conversation. That's not super typical for a first meeting.
Randy will let us know. He'll watch this and he'll let us know.
But I just remember that. And you have to, you know, keep in mind that, you know, you might have more than one personality type there. And then people are like, well, then what do I do? How do I match both? I said, well, you can't make eye contact with 2 people at the same time. When you are talking with 2 people, picture yourself wherever you meet, whether it's an office, a home, a coffee shop, or like this, and you're doing it online, which a lot of us are doing more and more and more these days. You know, you can't make eye contact with each person, or even in your conversation, you're likely to address, you know, so Susie, what do you think about this? And then, you know, Joe, how are you feeling about that? And you kind of look back and forth. Or even on the video, if you're still trying to stare in the camera, you use their name. But when you use their name, you can change your voice. And if you need to be a little bit louder and more animated and lean into the camera when you're talking to the one person, and then step back a little bit and slow down and soften your tone for the other person, you're going to show that you are flexible enough that you can make both of them feel comfortable. And that's really the goal, right? Is you want them to feel understood. Yep. And you want to know what it is that they're really looking for. You can't assume that they're looking for the same thing that you're looking for. You've got to have that conversation and find that out.
It looks like Chris says that Vickie, he put, I think you spelled your last name wrong. Chris, it's Vickie, Vickie Musnie, or no E, musni.com. So you had the N and the S mixed up. Hi, Sean. You guys have questions? Write them in the comments. I am monitoring them as we speak. We do have a few more moments left. So I would love to talk a little bit about DJ trivia with the time that we have left. So the transition into that, is that something that, you know, you guys just decided to do on a whim, or is it something that you've always wanted to do?
It was kind of related to the speaking that I was doing. We were speaking at one of the DJ cruises. Well, my husband was with me on the cruise, but he wasn't speaking. And Dave Wyatt, one of the owners of the DJ Trivia National, was also one of the presenters. And so we met him during the week, and trivia had come up several times. But the last night of the cruise, our group, there were like 50 or 60 of us on that trip, played a DJ trivia game together. And I looked at my husband and I said, Reno needs this. as soon as we're in a position to buy another business, this is what I think we should do. And we were under contract at the time with one of our larger casino hotel properties. I was managing their wedding photography division for them. And we were doing about 400 weddings a year for them. So I had to ride that contract out. And then once that ended, we bought into trivia. And it was 7 years in April, the anniversary of our very first game. And then right before the shutdown, we were doing 21 games a week before all this. And so now things here are starting to open up, and we're starting to be able to bring a few of them back with some restrictions. But yeah, that was kind of, the journey was related. And it really, what happened was, and that's also how we ended up getting into DJing and emceeing other events and weddings, which we do now as well. It was related because my husband has the technical skills and the music skills, and I was always super comfortable on the microphone. And he hosts now too, and he's fine on the mic, but he didn't always love it like I did. So in the beginning, we would host together, and he would build the playlist and, you know, run the tech, and I would be on the mic, and it was really fun. And then we started hiring people, and now we both host, you know, separately when we need to. But we have a really great team of people that we're slowly trying to put back to work.
Right. So did you find your personality, did you find it easier to hire people with that inside knowledge of the personality traits?
Yes. When I meet someone, I can size up the personality, and I can know in my mind what kind of a host they're going to be. And I have hosts of all 4 personality types on my team, which does help me because different venues have a different vibe. And so then I can be like, okay, this bar is more of a lounge feel. They're super laid back and like a little bit mellow, maybe a little bit of an older crowd. And I can put one of my blue or green hosts in there because they do well in that calm environment. If I've got, you know, my really loud, rowdy, college age, you know, crowd, rowdy bar by the university, then I'm going to put one of my extroverts in there because that's what that place is going to need to manage. So I think it helps me there. And then when somebody is needing time off and I have to cover for them with a different member of my team, I try to find a host that's a similar personality so that it's not kind of a shock to their audience when they get somebody different in there just filling in for that week or two that the person's gone. So it does help in that. And then even before, though, not just before trivia, when I was hiring for photography and when we had other videographers and editors on our team, for me, one of the things that was important was a small business was looking at what was missing. So in my personality chart, I'm a red yellow and my husband is a green with yellow. So that means we had 0 blue. So the first person I hired, I wanted to have strong blue because I knew that those traits, and even if you don't know what all of the ins and outs of those colors mean, you can look it up later. Just know that if you are aware that I'm lacking in this area, don't be afraid to hire someone who has strengths in that area. Don't be threatened that they might be better at something than you. Like, we need people on our team who are different from us so that they can see the things that we're missing, so they can show us that other perspective. So yes, you want to hire for personality type when it makes sense. Like, you might say, oh, I have an office position available. Well, is it like a more of a receptionist position? Are they going to be dealing with the public? Are there a lot of people walking in to your office or studio? Or so do you want somebody that's got those really high energy, great people skills? Or do you need someone who leans more on the detail oriented side? And do you care if they're a little bit, they don't have to deal with the public as much? You mostly want them doing your bookkeeping, your record keeping. Then you look for a different personality type, if that makes sense. And then you might have a team already, and then you don't want to like let people go, but you might want to ask yourselves, is everybody in the right spot? Do I have everybody in the right job for the personality color that they have? And that's something that I can help people with when they reach that level and they want that.
So it looks like everyone is asking where they can find more info. So I am just going to put it in here.
Yeah. My website, you can pop that on there. It should have links to everything, but you can just put my name in on Amazon and all my books are there. I've got 4 of them. 3 of them are on personalities. One of them I co-wrote with Mitch. That's actually a business one. And then I have 2 that are personalities for business and one that's specifically for educators. So unless you happen to know a teacher or work in that industry, that one wouldn't apply. But the other 3 are businessy. And
I'm going to pick up the personality one. I find it extremely interesting, and I love that sort of stuff. Like when I was in college, I loved psychology. Like that was my thing. I loved it. I love learning about the way the mind works. So I am totally going to check that one out. I'm really excited.
My tagline on all my books includes the phrase busy business owner. So just to let you know, they're all about 100 pages or less. If you just read them straight through, it should be about an hour. There are some like questions, like workbook style stuff for those that want to dig a little deeper and start to apply it. But I recognize that my audience is all busy business owners. That's who we are. And not everybody wants to pick up and read a 300-page book. So yeah, Personalities for Business was my first one. And then my one that just came out about 1.5 years ago was Color Me Smart. SMART is my acronym for sales, marketing, abilities, relationships, and teams. And that one covers those 5 areas and how personalities applies to those.
Oh, cool. So that's one that I'm going to want is the Color Me Smart.
Color Me Smart or Personalities for Business, which is a more general overview.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like that is our time. We actually went over, which is cool because the conversation was great. No, it's awesome. I love it. But the final question that we have this week is my son. Last week it was like super like just in depth, and this week it is not. This week, I know he's like way over here and then way over here. It is, what is the best way to eat an Oreo?
To eat an Oreo? Oh,
yeah.
I untwist them, and then I take a spoon and I scrape all of the frosting off separate. And then I dunk the cookie part and eat those one at a time, and then I eat the frosting last.
Okay. I love it. It's so detailed. I love it. I'm just a dunker. I just dunk the whole thing.
I say the best to last. I love the frosting. So yeah, but then it spaces it out because I'm trying to not eat the whole package. So that way you're actually taking each cookie and eating 3 separate things.
So it seems like you're eating more.
Yeah, and then the other cookie and then the frosting.
I love it. Guys, if you have any questions at all, write them in the comments. I will be monitoring them afterwards. Make sure you go check out Vickie's website. It's awesome. I can't wait to learn more about it. I'm super excited. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'll be watching those comments too if anybody has specific questions for me. My Facebook page is also a good place to find some funnier resources. I'll post like personality memes and stuff like that. But you can ask me something serious on there and I'll respond back as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Katie.